You're listening to KPFT Houston 90.1 on the dial. We are HD1 on the FM space here in Houston, Texas. And it is 7 o'clock. It's time for Songwriter Studio. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, including our guest today, Erika Olson, speaking to us from the UK. Erika, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's an absolute honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I give a lot of that credit to Adam Dawson, who got us a copy of your brand new record, which, by the way, is excellent. This Is How I Pray is the title of the record. And after you're reading your bio, you've lived literally all over the place, starting in New Mexico, then Utah, then Massachusetts, New York, Virginia, North Carolina, before moving to London. Tell the listening audience a little about how all that happened.
I have moved around a good bit, and often people ask, were my parents involved in the Army? And I say, no, I was a golf course brat. My dad was just recently retired. He was a golf course superintendent. And so that took us all over. For a while, he was also the championship agronomist for the USGA. So that took us around even more. So he set up like the golf courses for the US Open, the Women's Open, and did all that. So I grew up all over and on golf courses pretty much. And then once that moving bug sets in, it's kind of hard to shake it. So I continued on going to high school in Virginia while my family was in New York, and then going up to Boston for college and North Carolina for law school. And North Carolina was where I lived the longest in my adult life. We were in Charlotte, North Carolina, before my husband's job took us to London. And so, yeah, the adventure continues. We were in London for a few years, but I'm definitely more of a country mouse than a city mouse. So we moved out to East Sussex and live in the rolling English countryside now.
Fantastic. What an interesting life. That's terrific. Real quick question before we get started on the record.
Yeah.
Are you a golfer?
I am. Yes, I am. And I worked on a golf course. I worked with my dad for 7 years, like through high school and college. So I've run every machine there is to run. And I really appreciate a well-rigged bunker. So yes, I do play golf. I have to say, I have 3 children. So I don't play as much golf as I once did, but my husband is keen to get me back out there.
Well, living in London, golf is huge over there.
Yes,
we just watched the LPGA here in the Woodlands, which wrapped up Sunday. But yeah, I've close friends that are from the UK, and huge golfers. Let's talk a little bit about the record.
Very accessible. Sorry,
yes,
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I understand some of the courses in the UK are just stunning. Let's talk a little bit about the brand new album, This Is How I Pray. Just an excellent album, very contemporary, very much could be on FM radio right now. I think you had written something about the genre that you feel you slide into, but I think you're kind of all over the map. You're just a little bit more contemporary than your typical Americana or roots music. And I just really like the style you're in. You're sort of breaking new ground with this music. And let's talk a little bit about the opening track. I'm sure it's autobiographical. Mom Life, co-written by Johnny Wright. And go ahead and expand on this a little bit, and we're going to give the listening audience a listen to this track. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I have to tell this story. I have to share that. So Johnny and I were fast friends because we both are the primary caretakers for our children. Kids are a few years younger than mine, but so we have a lot of commiserating to do over the demands of young children. And so Mom Life was a song that I had started writing, and I kind of wrote it as a joke. Like I wrote it I was irritated about something that had happened at a school drop-off and was just like, this is how I'm going to get my frustration out. And so Johnny and I were swapping songs that we had been working on, and I told him, I said, I've got one that's a good laugh. And I read it to him, and he's like, oh, no, we need to finish that song. And I was like, no, I couldn't believe it. But so it's it's autobiographical to the extent that it's not. And who is it that says, don't let don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So it definitely captures a feeling that you can have, just this notion that we never really get past high school, all of the dynamics that you think you grow past, like they just crop back up at points in life. And the school gate when you're dropping your children off can be one of those times.
Interesting. If you like what we do here at KPFT, we've been coming to you for 53 years here at KPFT Pacifica Radio. Songwriter Studios, been in your living rooms for 17 years, and we would appreciate it if we can continue on with this great experiment of radio. We bring you the independent artists from all over the country, including the UK, and we would appreciate your support during this fund drive. So please pick up that phone and dial 713-526-5738. That's 713-JAM-KPFT, or just go to our website, kpft.org, and hit that tip jar. Make sure that money comes to Songwriter Studio so we can continue to bring you this great programming from independent artists like Erika Olson. Let's listen to her opening track off the brand new album, This Is How I Pray. This is Mom Life.
I show up late again. They're clucking in the car park like a pack of hens. I hate my face for smiling like we're friends. The smiley one peels away to tell me they need something for the PTA. I nod and fumble kids through the school gate. On the outside it looks nice. Just look out for the landmines. We sharpen up our knives for another day in mom life. So pass me down the wine. I've been up all day and night, just trying to survive another day in mom life. All sugar sweet like cherry 8, lining up their cars on the light brigade. Am I the only school-run renegade? I look just like I haven't slept. I can feel them clutch their pearls like an amulet. How the hell does anyone look so perfect? On the outside it looks nice. Just look out for the landmines. We sharpen up our knives for another day in mom life. So pass me down the wine. I've been up all day and night, just trying to survive another day in mom life. Another day in mom life. It's only fair, you know. We never really grow past the adolescent horror show. On the outside it looks nice. Just look out for the landmines. We sharpen up our knives for another day in mom life. So pass me down the wine. I've been up all day and night, just trying to survive. On the outside it looks nice. Just look out for the landmines. We sharpen up our knives for another day in mom life. So pass me down the wine. I've been up all day and night, just trying to survive. Just trying to survive another day in mom life.
Look out for the landmines, sharpen up the knives. Great lyrics, great vocals, excellent arrangement. If you're just tuning in, Erika Olson is our guest on Songwriter Studio. We'll be playing tracks for the next 50 minutes off of This Is How I Pray. Great song, Erika. An excellent opener, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Johnny Wright, who plays almost all the instruments other than the guitar and vocals on this record, just a terrific job using the synth and bass, and just all the fills he used was perfect, not only for this song, but for the whole record.
Yeah, we worked really hard to create the soundscape for this album, and I really appreciate that you appreciate how eclectic it is. I knew that these songs all started with just a girl and a guitar, and I knew that I could go to Nashville and I could make an Americana record sonically, but I was living in the UK, and I love how eclectic musically the UK is. And I wanted to incorporate that because my influences aren't limited to Americana and roots music. You know, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I love R&B and hip hop, and I love modern music and pop music, and so all of these sounds like float through my influences. And so when I talked to Johnny about what kind of record I wanted to make, you know, he's like, we can make a folk record, we can make an Americana record. And I was like, I will be so sad if that's what we make. And so we worked really hard to stake out like sonically where this album was going to land. And I'm so proud of the map that we created for it.
Agreed. And this is much more than all of the above that you had mentioned. I think this is almost created your own genre with this. The sound is just very, very modern today. This could be a hit on the radio. And let's move on. I want to get as many tracks on the record, on the radio as possible. We do urge the listening audience to pick up that phone. If you like what we do here, please dial 713-526-5738. We have all kinds of gifts available this fund drive, and keep KPFT as strong and as alive as it's ever been. Big thanks to how all this is turned over. A lot of this is due to Sandy's hard work bringing this station back to life. So don't forget KPFT and Songwriter Studio. Let's talk about track number 2, Hungry Little Bird. Great harmonies in this track. I love this track. It's got a heavy bass influence, and it might be the synth that's playing the bass part in this. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, Hungry Little Bird, there's some bass and some synth. Hungry Little Bird is we picked 4 songs to kind of map out the sonic landscape, and Hungry Little Bird was one of those songs. It was one of the first songs that we identified as a strong possibility as a single. And Hungry Little Bird is one of those, it's an example of how I really like to create contrast, right? Like, so Hungry Little Bird is a song about a really intense and meaningful subject to me. And it's about body acceptance. It was written with a friend of mine through her story about her struggle and really perseverance through anorexia. It caused me to reflect on my own experiences with body dysmorphia. And I have a 10-year-old daughter who is like now encountering all of these issues. And so it just all coalesced in this song, Hungry Little Bird. But it has such an upbeat melody and such a hopefulness to it. So it was, we really wanted to incorporate all of that musically to track all of the complexity that was going on in the lyrics. And again, I'm really excited with what we put together.
Let's listen to that track right now. And I want the listening audience to take particular attention to the great harmonies in this song, which were very, very thoughtfully arranged and recorded. From the brand new album, This Is How I Pray, this is brand new music from Erika Olson, Hungry Little Bird.
You left home 17, so much to learn, so much to see. Midwest, a sea of grain, debutantes, football games. Starving seen, to be seen, dying to be known, weightless, all alone, all alone. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird. Sent home a wisp of gold, hollow bones, baggy clothes. Daddy gasped, Mama cried at the darkness in your eyes. How on earth did it get so bad? Can't you feel the love you have? Starving to be seen, dying to be known, weightless, all alone, all alone. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird. Free your famished heart, fill yourself with wonder, dance among the stars. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird. Hungry little bird, hungry, hungry little bird.
Hungry Little Bird, brand new music, Erika Olson from the excellent new record, This Is How I Pray. The piano work by Johnny Wright, including the guitar solo in the middle, were just perfectly placed. My compliments on an excellent recording, Erika.
Excellent. I can't wait to tell him how much you love it. He's going to be just chuffed, as they say here in the UK.
You know, just a quick listener note here. We do have, I've mentioned earlier, we're in Fund Drive. We've got all kinds of gifts. I picked up the sheet with some of the T-shirts and stuff we're offering. Just $100 level, you can get the old 419 Love It T-shirt, the old building, and the brand new building at 4504 Caroline Street. We have a T-shirt with that. We also have both T-shirts if you want the Caroline Street and the Love It for $180 pledge. We've got tote bags for $75, coffee mugs for $75. Keep in mind, you're not purchasing these gifts. You're allowing us to stay on the air again for hopefully another 50 years here at KPFT. It's been a struggle for the public radio stations since Spotify and many of the other online services have eaten our lunch, but we are surviving, so thank you for that. Erika, you've got a place here at KPFT and some of the other public radio stations, and you know just how important it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I miss my public radio. I listen to NPR all the time over here whenever I can get my hands on it. Absolutely.
Let's talk about the next track we've got queued up. This Is How I Pray. This is a very contemporary ballad and very, very poignant to the point. Tell us a little bit about your writing process in this song.
This was a song that came out of it was a lockdown song. We had several lockdowns in the UK starting in March of 2020. And just as we were entering our first lockdown, spring was really beginning to unfold. And it was just, everyone remember it was a really tumultuous time, but Mother Nature was just absolutely putting on an incredible display. And the turmoil that we were feeling was relieved by the fact that we were going outside and walking all the time. And just as March was happening, so we had the the snowdrops had just emerged, and then the daffodils were taking over. And then as we were walking and exploring the forests around the English countryside, the bluebells were coming up. And I felt like it was the first time that I had really watched spring truly unfold. And it just got me thinking about my faith and about where my faith really came from, and that it couldn't be contained in the four walls of a building. And it had me reflecting on my parents. And I think I definitely bit off a lot with this song, but I just felt so moved by the enormity of everything and yet the simplicity of nature around me. And so this is a song about my faith and about where it comes from and about my parents and my family. And so it was a big one.
Very well put, and you hit it on the head. We're so busy with our lives, especially working if you're full-time employed and we're trapped inside of a home office. And it's so hard for us to sit back and smell the roses and just enjoy what life has to offer, what has been created for us to enjoy here on Earth. And thank you so much. This is a wonderful song. Let's listen to it right now off the brand new album, This Is How I Pray. Erika Olson, This Is How I Pray, the title track.
Mama sang her prayers as a little girl to God, the Father and the Son. She prayed for grace but never heard back from anyone. But the skylark and redstart sing to her at dawn. The wind taught her all the words to its song. Put her hands down in the dirt, walk barefoot on the earth, savor the air her babies breathe. Let her tears fall with the rain, follow sunbeams and her faith to the cathedral in the trees. This is how she prays. Daddy left at sunrise to tend to his garden of tears, greens and sand. Out on a fairway, he prays to a father who died too young of a man. No Sunday singing or sermon or schooling or bread needed for that fairway communion. Put his hands down in the dirt, walk barefoot on the earth, savor the air his babies breathe. Let his tears fall with the rain, follow sunbeams and his faith to the cathedral in the trees. This is how he prays. Forge my heart with carbon and iron. No preacher could break through. A tiny voice shattered my armor with, Mommy, I love you. Love is the prayer I was meant to receive. If I can feel, I can believe. Put my hands down in the dirt, walk barefoot on the earth, savor the air my babies breathe. Let my tears fall with the rain, follow
Title track from the brand new album by Erika Olson, This Is How I Pray. Erika, what a way to crescendo a song. It had this steady climbing crescendo. I can't describe it any other way, to where the song builds and builds and builds. Just very, very well-arranged song.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I wanted to back up a little bit here about your detour from the legal business. You were becoming an attorney. I'm assuming that's why you went to school. Why don't you explain to the listening audience about your path and changing directions?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. I practiced law for 6 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was a litigator. I went to Wake Forest Law School, and I started out in financial services litigation. I came out of law school right when the Enron and WorldCom cases were kind of starting to go to trial, and so that's what I cut my teeth on. And then I kind of expanded into more general business litigation. I loved the practice of law. The other thing, what was most important to me, I loved working for my clients and I loved doing the work, but from the first day I began doing pro bono work, and I primarily did that through Legal Aid of North Carolina. And I went after bad landlords and helped get domestic violence restraining orders, and just jumped into that head first, because that was the reason why I went to law school, is because I wanted to do something. I wanted to help people and make a difference. And that's how I kind of thought that I could do it. And I did. But then I had my first baby, and 6 years into my career, things were going swimmingly. I had no intention of ever not working, but my first child came 5 weeks early, and he completely changed my life. Motherhood completely changed my life. In the States, we're lucky if we get some maternity leave. And at the time I did have some. I had 2 months, I think, and I needed to take more because he was so little. But he wasn't thriving. He wasn't doing well, and I wasn't doing well. And so I went back to work, but then about 9 months in, I needed to take some time to try to help get him better. And I just got on that roller coaster of trying to take some time to get him better, try to go back to work, need to take more time. And I just, all of my priorities, everything I thought that mattered in life, just got completely, I became a totally different person. And eventually I danced around with the law for another couple of years. But when my husband's work took us to London, that was the opportunity for me to make a break and to put my law license on hold, to put my everything on hold, because figuring out, at that time I was 6 months pregnant with our third. And so I figured having 3 children very young in London and trying to figure out how to practice law wasn't a good idea. So that was the chance that I took to really take a break from the practice. And it's when I was able to turn my attention more to writing. I had been dabbling with it a little bit. And by writing, I mean writing songs. I figured, kind of processing life through music was constructive, and it kind of became compulsive for me. It's how I was making sense of how I was changing as a person, and what all of this creation of life meant. It created just this compulsive need to continue creating, and moving to London allowed me to really put my law down for a minute and turn to music. And I would say that's when I really, really dove headfirst into motherhood, accepting motherhood, and taking music along for the ride.
Your priorities shifted, and I think it was a good move on your part, because this is a stellar record you just completed. And like you said, you shifted your energy from one direction to the other. Let's talk about benefit of the doubt. This is a very, I hate to use the word critical of color discrimination, but the lyrics in this song are very, very touching to me. It was. So why don't you tell the listening audience a little bit about that, and we'll make their own judgment on the lyrics. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Benefit of the Doubt is another song that was born out of the tumultuous summer of 2020, the Black Lives Movement. We felt the shockwaves of that very profoundly here in the UK. I watched it. I just was. I couldn't not be moved by it, and it was. It was a time when I had a chance to think and to process, and I was looking at my children, and I was thinking about where I was as a child and what life was like and what I was learning as a child compared to what my children were learning. And I have I can't help it, but I just so desire for the world to be a better place. And I am truly optimistic that somehow, some way that will happen. And the way I made sense of everything that was going on that summer was to reflect on my past. And so I did that with benefit of the doubt, and really took a hard look at my childhood and about how, I grew up primarily out on the east end of Long Island, and I was absolutely convinced that there was no racism when I was a child. But as I look back on it and I really consider the subliminal messaging that we were receiving, I see that in a different light now, and I wanted to make something that reflected what I understand now, and so that's what's going on in Benefit of the Doubt.
Very thought-provoking lyrics in this. From the brand new album, This Is How I Pray, Erika Olson. This is Benefit of the Doubt.
Moved to a new school when I was 8. Boys called me 4 Eyes and pulled out my braids. But it wasn't long before we'd all hang out. I always got the benefit of the doubt. Only 5 girls in that 3rd grade class. The boys had a favorite they liked to harass. Mixed in with pale kids, her dark skin stood out. Charity never got the benefit of the doubt. Silently, I would watch the torment begin. Pick at her hair, point at her hips, told the lies, that it wasn't about the color of her skin. 5th grade, Carolyn called me a cheat for looking at answers under my feet. I stood up straight and I lied with a shout. I always got the benefit of the doubt. Another day, another test, eyes peeking around. Somebody's cheat sheet fell to the ground. Kids pointed their finger, the teacher screamed out. Charity never got was wind on a bike. We were told to be colorblind because we'd left behind all that history of black and white. Even though the wars on drugs and welfare and thugs played on the news every night. Charity left in 8th grade, she's pregnant, we joked. Thoughtless cruelty haunts me like a ghost. If only I'd seen as a child what I see now. To break these chains I proceed without the benefit, oh, the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the Doubt. Wonderful song. I love the string simulated synth work that Johnny put in there. Just a well-arranged song with very, very thought-provoking lyrics. My compliments. Erika Olson is our guest on Songwriter Studio. And just one more shout out to the listeners. If you like what we bring to you week after week on Songwriter Studio, pick up that phone. Please dial 713-526-5738. The operators will tell you all about the gifts we have to offer, including the KPFT utility pack. It includes 2 masks, 2 brand new coffee mug, Caroline Street tote bag, keychain. You get a whole bag full of stuff there for $16.67 a month. Or if you don't quite have that budget, for $7.50 a month, $90 total, pick up the flash drive that includes our April 23rd, 2020 concert. We had Steve Earle, Rodney Crowell, Hayes Carl, Shiny Ribs, Ruthie Foster, Jimmy Dale Gilmore, all packed into one flash drive. So if you can't pick up that phone, go to kpft.org, make your pledge, and please make sure that money comes to Songwriter Studio. Erika, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We got plenty more to go. Let's talk a little bit about contact. If they want to order a copy, can they go to www.erikaolsonmusic.com? Do you have copies available? Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. And it's Erika with a K and Olson with 2 O's.
Spell it out for them.
Erika, ErikaOlson music.com. Yes.
And thank goodness for the internet these days. You can order copies of an album from London, England.
Yes.
Very,
yes,
very
it's amazing.
Very interesting times we live right now. So the name of the new album, I mentioned it earlier, This Is How I Pray. Just an excellent record. Let's talk a little bit about the next track we've got queued up, Wreckage. And this reminds me so much of something that U2 would have put out. Is there any U2 influence in your background?
Oh my gosh, I love you too. That's so amazing. I love that. I love that. That I'm struck by that. Thank you so much for that. I absolutely. I think U2 Rattle and Hum. Actually, I snuck in to see that at my local theater. I wasn't old enough yet when they put out their documentary, and that was I definitely snuck in to see that. So Wreckage is, I'm a songwriter. I've got to have a breakup song, right? Like that's, but Wreckage is more than that. Wreckage, comes from a time when I was watching some friends go through some really, really rough breakups, and this is my attempt at writing a bit of a song with Schadenfreude in it, and just again probably biting off more than I can chew, but we went for it with Wreckage.
Let's listen to that track right now off of the brand new album, This Is How I Pray, Erika Olson. This is Wreckage.
never thought I'd be the one before the one when I was your someone. We would dream tomorrows held, a child or two, a mountain view. Then her face shattered the picture. I lost my future. You picked her from the wreckage of your love. Gotta find the happiness I have lost from the wreckage of your love. Gotta ditch the what ifs and the why not. So the wreckage from the wreckage I would climb. I never thought I'd be the one tossed and used, lost and bruised. In daylight I live again, touch solid ground, put sorrow down. But in midnight flashbacks I beg and plead, what's it like to be loved more than me? From the wreckage of your love, gotta find the happiness I have lost. From the wreckage of your love, gotta ditch the what ifs and the why not. So the wreckage from the wreckage I would climb. Oh, the wreckage from the wreckage I'll fly. I watched you crash at the end. Rumors said she left you body broken, covered in wounds, crushed by a choice you didn't choose. From the wreckage of your love, gotta find the happiness I have lost. From the wreckage of your love, gotta ditch the what ifs and the why not. So the wreckage from the wreckage I will climb. Oh, the wreckage from the wreckage I'll fly.
Soaring vocals by Erika Olson. Wreckage. What a great song. I mentioned before we spun that track, this reminds me of something that U2 would record, and I stand by that. I can imagine Bono singing this song. Great song, great arrangements. Your harmonies were stellar, Erika.
Thank you. You know, I love doing BVs, like backing vocals. When I started recording, I realized I'd found my sandbox. Just playing with layering and singing it all and having fun with it all, like, just made me come alive in a way I had never really been alive before. So it's really gratifying to hear you appreciate that. Thank you. I love doing it.
Erika Olson is our guest on this evening's Songwriter Studio, playing tracks off of her brand new album, This Is How I Pray. Just a superb record. The recording quality is top notch. My hats off to Johnny Wright. His recording capability is just top notch, like I said, and the backing instruments, the harmonies, everything just fits perfect. If you want a copy of this album, go to Erika, 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 Olson, OLSON.com. Order you a copy. And it's actually, the release date isn't until, is it May the 5th, the actual release date, Erika?
Yes, May the 5th.
Okay, so it is just passed. It's a brand new release. So get out there and please order a copy. Show your support. Talk about the next track we've got queued up, I Don't Feel Like Fighting. Again, you really do stellar harmonies in this. And the groove that you two chose for the song is very attractive to the listener. I don't know how else to put it. Just an excellent groove. It sucks you in right off the bat. Tell the listening audience a little bit about this track and your arrangement. Go ahead.
Sure. So I don't feel like fighting really came from a mantra. I think that's why it has that groove. Well, and it was just like it's a very repetitive. I don't tend to write chord structures that are just a repeat. But this is one song where I did that, and that I think allows me to find a groove in a different way. It's just three chords really circling around, and so it allows me to explore things in a different manner. A groove is really important to me, I have to say. It's probably one of the first things that I find, and on this song in particular, it's like one of those songs that takes 5 years to write. So I started it back in London soon after we moved. My eldest was 5, and everything was hard. You know, I was very pregnant with our third child. We just moved to an entirely new country. We didn't have a car. We were on buses and tubes and walking, and everything. It was just a really big transition for him. And his response was to just say no to everything and just really dig his heels in and get resistant, which I totally get. But at the time, it was really hard to parent through. And so after one particularly explosive no session, I found myself up in his room and I just slammed his drawers shut and started saying, I don't feel like fighting. I don't feel like fighting. I don't feel like fighting anymore. And it just kept going around and around. And it followed me. And I tried to write a little something to it, but it wasn't until another lockdown story. It wasn't until we were all back in one house together with nowhere else to go and no one else to be around that all of that kind of uncertainty and fighting started to erupt again. And I pulled this song back out and was like, now is the time to finish it. And so I did, and I love it. And it is to this day a mantra that I carry with me when things get difficult, because it's not about giving up. It's about finding another way through conflict.
Well, I'd mentioned the groove as well, and it is something that you noted. I love this song for that. It's one of my favorite songs off the record. From the brand new album, This Is How I Pray, I Don't Feel Like Fighting, Erika Olson.
I want to know what the mountain said to stop the earthquake. I want to know how the birch tree bends and does not break. 'Cause angry words explode from our mouths, shattered truths lays at our feet. We blasted another day to the ground and show no signs of retreat. I don't feel like fighting anymore. I'm giving up on counting and keeping score. I don't feel like fighting anymore. I don't feel like fighting anymore. Watch the pain twist in your eyes, and I knew I'd gone too far. I felt my rage evaporate as I crashed back to my heart. Who talks sense to the ocean so it stops beating the shore? What's it like on the battlefield if we just don't have the war? I don't feel like fighting anymore. I'm giving up on counting and keeping score. I don't feel like fighting anymore. I don't feel like fighting anymore. Can I give up? Can I be tender? Can the rain tell the storm feel like fighting anymore.
I don't feel like fighting. Definitely a toe tapper. Great groove. We're just about out of time. I want to thank Lloyd Daniels so much for opening up Songwriter Studios to help us out on this Mother's Day, get this show sent in. Thank you very much, Lloyd. You've been a real treasure to this radio station and to this show, Songwriter Studio. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. Erika, we've got time for one more track we're going to go out with, Albuquerque Nights. Why don't you let the listening audience know where they can order a copy of this excellent record? Go ahead.
Yes, please. You can get a copy on my website, through my website at erikaolsonmusic.com. That's ErikaOlson music.com. Thank you so much for having me and playing this music. It means so much to me.
Great record. I highly recommend it. 2 big thumbs up. And if you like what we do here in Songwriter Studio week after week, year after year, please pick up that phone and dial 713-526-5738 or go to KPFT.org and make your donation online. Hit that tip jar, make sure Songwriter Studio benefits. Thank you all so much. Stick around. We've got Pete Little and great show Irish Airs coming up next. And don't forget, we will see you next week. Thanks again for tuning in.
The sun went down the desert side. You cracked a grin. It was time to fly. Too young to care what tomorrows bring, or to know what love really means. But that night it meant driving through a dream with you on an Albuquerque night, lifting off the ground with you on an Albuquerque night. You held my body beneath the cottonwood, your fingers tracing every line they could, till our fire dimmed like a distant star. The devil winds finally blew us apart, leaving the memory of driving through a dream with you on an Albuquerque night, lifting off the ground with you on an Albuquerque night. A lifetime's passed since you cast your spell, and I've kept your magic to myself. When I need a break from this crazy life, I take a ride in the desert night.